Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Joe Biggs of LibertyOneTV.com, and this is Rogue Right. Today, we are going to be interviewing Matt Valentinas. He's a co-executive producer of the Hollywood expose film An Open Secret. He is also an entertainment lawyer, literary manager, and film producer. Matthew has held various creative and business administrative positions in the entertainment industry, working in both New York and Los Angeles, prior to returning to the Boston area and founding the law office of Matthew Valentinas. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
no
for having
problem.
me.
So we see this issue finally coming to light. It's finally being spearheaded, so to say, by the mainstream media in a sense. They're finally actually talking about something that most of us have known about and that's been going on in Hollywood and within the industry like that for years and years and years. And now the mainstream media that has ignored it for so long is finally being forced to talk about it. And now you have all these victims finally coming forward because they're empowered. They've seen someone do it and nothing's happened to them. And now they're like, hey, I can do it, you can do it, and everyone's starting to come to the forefront. So, what do you think is going on, and how bad is this problem within Hollywood, and what can be done to stop it in a sense?
Well, I think the first thing that can be done to stop it is that I think they're trying to segment it, right? Right now, they're trying to put all the focus on Harvey Weinstein. There's probably 20 or 30 or 40 Harvey Weinsteins in the industry, if not more. Um, I think they're trying to focus it just on women. We shouldn't let them divide us like that. This should be focused on everybody. It's happened to a lot of men, and in our film, we talk about how much it's happening to children. So I think the issue needs to be about everyone and not let them compartmentalize it like that. And I would love to see when people say this Me Too campaign, I would love to see them mention children because no one has really mentioned the children yet. No one in Hollywood has championed the children other than, Corey Feldman's come out. But that's really about it. Everyone else that has come out, they've had to retract their statements. They're still very scared, and it's about time. We know that there's one or two very famous people who, if they came out, could change this whole issue. And I think the goal is to make people comfortable about coming out. Just in the last 48 hours, I've had 3 conversations with people who are struggling about coming out with this information, and they're getting closer and closer to doing it, but they're still scared. And I think it was good that the LA District Attorney's Office said that they're finally going to open investigations. London is, New York is. Just like we saw with the Harvey Weinstein case, New York even did a sting on him. They had tape and they didn't prosecute. So now I think the pressure is on the government at the state and federal level to finally start doing something. I think they realize that they've been caught with their pants down. I think the NYPD was pressuring their prosecutors to do things, and now they look bad. I think LAPD has probably been pushing their district attorneys to do things. I don't think it's a lack of enforcement. I don't think it's the police's fault. I think it's a lack of prosecution. And I don't know if it's intentional, but sexual abuse is one of the hardest cases to prove. And in our film, An Open Secret, the most damning evidence we have is recorded confessions, which unfortunately wouldn't be used in a court of law and is usually what is needed to get proof on these people. And another misunderstanding of this situation, and people always say, well, why did it take them so long to come out, like in the Bill Cosby situation, women coming out 20, 30 years later. All the studies, if you look at it, it takes at least 10 or 20 years for the average person to admit that this happened to them and that they're ready to talk about it. So someone who's abused at 15 might not really be ready to talk about it until they're 35 or 40. I mean, we saw that repeatedly with the Catholic church scandal, and that's just the norm. So I think the public needs a better understanding of what these victims go through. And I think we need to change victim shaming. And everyone says, oh, everyone's proven, innocent until they're proven guilty, and that's true. But let's let's I think we're starting to recognize the patterns of powerful people and what they do when they have big PR and big lawyers against them. We certainly had a lot of intimidating letters and threats sent our way the last couple of years trying to make this film. We had a lot of press not want to cover it. We had a lot of distributors not want to put it out. We had a lot of film festivals wanted it first and then not want us to show up. So once this Harvey Weinstein thing broke, we knew we had to release the film for free for a limited period of time just to sort of support everyone that was finally coming to the forefront and talking about it and to keep the pressure on. That's what we need to do now. The victims that we're talking to, we're telling them, come out now. This is the best time to come out. And we're also trying to convince people with settlements. We know of a lot of big settlements, and it's those settlements that are keeping people quiet. And I think it's going to take a few brave people who are going to break out of those settlements. I think we're starting to see it in the Harvey Weinstein case, that once they do it, more people are going to do it and feel empowered to come
Why do
forward.
you think so many people in Hollywood are scared to come out? I mean, even as adults, even the ones that were children, like you said, long, long time ago and are just now coming out late. Do you think it's because they're kind of still in that Stockholm syndrome type thing where they kind of feel like this person has so much power over their lives that even, 10, 20 years down the road, that these people still could affect their lives in a way that, I mean, to me, that's just kind of scary, that the atmosphere that is in Hollywood like that.
Well, the reason we chose Hollywood was because it's an exaggerated situation that is happening in every small town. We all know that child sexual
Yeah.
abuse happens everywhere. But Hollywood, it happens on a different level. Instead of taking a kid to an ice cream store, you can offer him a role in a big movie, or you can fly him on a jet to London for a premiere. And the kids that go there are generally more susceptible. They're fame hungry. Most of the time, they're unsupervised. They get emancipated legally at a young age. The industry encourages emancipation. Um, and drugs are a big part of it. When you look back at a lot of the stars that died in the 80s and 90s, teen stars that died in their 20s, they got hooked on heroin. These guys are very smart about how they groom people, who they pick, and then they kind of control their lives through drugs, through mental manipulation, and then through career manipulation. So if you're starting out your life at like 8 or 9 years old to be an actor, and then by 16 you're kind of in with a crowd of child molesters, and then by 18 you're addicted to heroin, and you haven't been going to normal schools, and then maybe you're in a couple big roles, and then your career starts to fade a little bit. That's what they do. It's a process. I mean, they have guys who scout kids, and then they sort of groom them. They're working many kids at once. It's not just one kid. A typical pedophile might be working 10 to 30 kids at once, and just it's basically sheeps and wolves. That's what it comes down to, and they're the wolves. And the kids that they pick on are even more susceptible than the kids in normal cities, normal towns with normal families, because a lot of times these kids are from single parent homes. They have drug problems. They're runaways, and they're easier to be taken advantage of, and they're more damaged. So that's why and then they have no one to turn to when this happens. No one believes them, and they have no money to support it. And so the only money and income they can make is from working in the industry, and they will pull that away from them in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about earlier how it's not just happening to women, it's happening to men as well, and also children. So I've got a buddy who's from Southern California. He lives here now. And he was telling me a story the other day, when this whole Harvey Weinstein thing came out, about how when he was younger, he wanted to go into male modeling. And some girls that he knew were female models, and they had an agent, and they set up a meeting for him to go to. And I think he said he was like 19 or 20, 6'4" at that age, in shape young guy, goes in to sit down for this meeting, and your phone turned sideways again. Try to straighten that out. And then he goes into this meeting. There you go. He goes into this meeting, and the guy goes, "All right, I'm going to need you to go down on me." And my buddy goes, "What?" He goes, "No, I'm just here to for a part." He goes, "No, I'm going to need you to go down on me so we can continue this meeting and kind of get you in the door." And he says, "If you say that again, I'm going to jump over the desk and beat your ass." And he said the meeting continued. The guy stopped, and he said about 5 minutes into the meeting, and there's women, the girls that brought him there. He just nonchalantly goes, "I'm going to need you to go ahead and go down on me. I mean, this is how this works." And he said he just got up and walked off. He said that was his modeling career right there. 20 minutes in this meeting, and it was immediately that's how it started off. And the guy had other people in the office, and he didn't have any shame about it. He didn't seem nervous. It was just such a natural thing for him to do. He was so used to doing that and so used to having that power over people that he probably had never even been turned down by anybody. And my buddy just got up and walked away. I mean, that's scary when you see it happening like that. When the way he was told me the story about how this main Asian guy just said it just with a straight face. His heart rate wasn't up or anything like that. It was just like asking for a cheeseburger or, "Hey, can I get a beer?" Just that normally. It was just so, to me, it was so shocking to hear that.
Yeah, it's not shocking to me. And just this past Friday, one of the biggest child agents in Hollywood was fired. I mean, he represented the kids that are in Stranger Things and in It, and he's in a circle of people that basically does what you just said. That's how they operate. And sorry
That's
about my
good. That's
phone
good
here,
right
man. Okay, and so that's what we're trying to break with this, and that's what we're trying to get people to come out and talk about that. And I was glad to see a lot of those kids quit and moved on to other agencies. And it's far worse than people could ever imagine. And I think this is the next
So,
dam
so,
to break.
so do
And
you
there's
think
a
it's
couple
happening to
people.
more kids than it isn't in Hollywood? Do you think that? What do you think the percentage is of young, like child actors that are in Hollywood that have to endure this type of behavior from these Hollywood elites, or just these low level people that can help even get you in the door to meeting people? I mean, how bad is the problem?
I think it's at least 50%. And I think the longer your career is, the higher that number is. And the more famous you are, that number goes up to 60, 75, 80%.
It really makes you think. I mean, when you see someone on movies now, like when I look at the Wahlbergs, he's a big guy now. You look at all these famous actors now, and you're thinking, oh my God, like you hear all this stuff, these new revelations about what's going on. Not that they're new, but they're finally being talked about in the mainstream. It really makes you think, like, what did that person have to do to get to where they are? And it makes you kind of sick at your stomach. Like, I don't even really want to watch a lot of movies now, because now when I see that and I see that person, I just think, oh my God, what did that person have to do to get to where they are, to be at this level that they're at? It's just disturbing.
Well, I don't know if anything happened to these guys, but in our film, for instance, Leonard DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire, when they were young, had a publicist who was a major pedophile and who took some pretty weird pictures of them. Now, I'm not saying he molested them or anything happened to him, but they've been around pedophiles who've been convicted. So, we've been approached by a lot of people who, there's major stars who were represented by pedophiles in our film that we don't want to out, but they could come out themselves. And I'm not saying that they were molested, but they were represented by these guys, and they knew people who were molested. Even there's one convicted pedophile in our film. His name is Brian Peck. He was kicked off a Nickelodeon show for molesting a kid. And then I got a call from several other kids who worked on that show, and they said there were 2 or 3 other pedophiles on that show at the same time. So I think there's a wall of kids who are ready to be coming out. We have also approached a lot of women for this film, but they were so damaged, and some of them are still active in the industry, that it's not a good time for them to come out. And I think it's hard. it's hard to ask them to give up millions of dollars. I mean, millions and millions of dollars right now. I think it's one of those things where some of the main stars who might be in their early 20s right now, 15 or 20 years from now, will come forward with this story.
You would think that people would finally just say, you know what? Let's all get together. Let's all come out about this at once. Let's tear down the machine that is Hollywood and let's just rebuild it. Let's just start over in a sense. I mean, if we could have everybody come out and talk about this, I mean, the amount of love that would come from this country and around the world to these people to support them would be tremendous. I mean, these people would be boosted up, their careers would even go higher, I feel like. But I guess you just get stuck in that mindset that, these people are going to control you, they're going to look for you, they're going to threaten you, they're going to do this and that. And that's why I worry about Corey Feldman, because Corey Feldman's like, hey, I'm going to, I'm possibly going to release people, their names, this and that. And he keeps talking about it, but he's not doing it. And he's saying he's getting death threats. It just makes.
Well, we went to Corey early on, and Corey could have come through us if he wanted to, and we offered to protect him with legal money. We had a lot of money for this documentary. We hired a lot of lawyers. We did it right. We're very protected. We can't be intimidated. So we were a little disappointed that Corey didn't come out with us, but that was a couple years ago, and I see what he's trying to do now. I just don't know if that's the right approach. I don't know if he really knows what he's getting into in terms of doing this correctly from a legal standpoint. You know, so I can't speak to that. I can only tell you that we give Curry in many opportunities to participate in our film, and we also assured him we would protect him, and he still chose not to do it. So I don't know what his reasoning was. I do believe Corey what happened to him, and one of the pedophiles that Corey was involved in is in our film, Marty Weiss. So there's a connection there, and there's connections. This is almost like an organized crime syndicate, the way that these guys are connected and operate, and I hope that the feds prosecute this case using RICO statutes, because they can. This is a massive conspiracy. I'm not talking a conspiracy in the sense of it not being real. I'm saying it's real, and it goes all the way up to billionaires, right? And you know, it's lower level guys who basically find the people and groom the kids in the nightclub that bring them up to parties in the hills, and then, you know, it's almost like a fashion show for which kid they're going to pay at night. And you know, I'm not saying anything that's over anything you want to do over 18, go for it. I don't care. But the way they're using 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, even younger, and, you know, one of our victims was 11, it's disgusting. And the worst part is, I think the problem with Hollywood is, you know, this is probably only 2 to 3 or 4% of people in Hollywood. But the problem is, I think so many people kind of feel complicit or are disappointed that they haven't done anything, that what's going to happen is companies like Disney, Nickelodeon, all of them are going to be massively sued, big time, because they haven't been enforcing the regulations properly. They've been way too lax about background checks on these kids, on the people that are with kids. That's where the change is going to come from. It's going to be exactly what happened to the Catholic Church scandal. Is there's just going to be hordes of lawyers suing the studios, and they need to get on top of it right now. There needs to be a purging. You know, firing one guy at Amazon, firing Harvey Weinstein, that's not enough. I think we need scores of people, if not hundreds of people, to be fired. That's what it's going to need to change. It's going to need to be more of a corporate takeover, because that's the problem with Hollywood. It's not as corporate as it seems, and it needs to step it up.
That seems to be the problem in our society today. You know, we always want to find that one person to blame, and then afterwards we feel like, okay, it's over with, you know? So Harvey Weinstein essentially is the fall guy. He's the bad guy in Hollywood. And then they just want to, you know, get rid of him and then pretend like, oh, it's normal now. He's the monster. He's gone. He's in jail, or he's not allowed to be here. So it's all good now. And everybody always wants that quick fix, that quick thing, but it's so much deeper, like you said. And there's still, even though it's not a large percent of people doing it, the small percentage of people that are doing it have a large effect across the entire spectrum that is Hollywood. My buddy works in films, another a buddy of mine, and he does TV shows and things like that. And he actually met with he said it's one of the top 5 female directors in Hollywood. He hasn't told me her name yet, but hopefully I'm trying to get him to warm up to where he tells me what happened to him. And he's an older guy, married, family, all that. And this lady is like, all right, we're going to offer you all this money. And then it turns from being extremely professional to now she's asking for sexual favors and this and that. And from what he's telling me, she mostly targets veterans who have gotten out of the military, have some film experience, and uses the fact that they're kind of, hey, I'm out now. I need to, I'll do anything to kind of get my life back on track now that I'm out of the military, because we all know that veterans have a kind of a struggle when they get out. I struggled for a while, and many other ones that I know struggle when they get out with trying to find work and how to reintegrate into society. And she is using these guys and knowing that they need that help, they need that money, and she's taking advantage of him. So I'm trying to get him to come out, and I know that would be pretty big. But there's just, the more and more you talk to people, the more and more you listen, the deeper and deeper the problem is, and you start understanding just how wide it is and how big it is. And it's not just Hollywood, like you said; it's in DC, it's all over the place. When the whole the Pizzagate thing came out, people were, it was such a bad thing to talk about pedophilia, and now we finally have this coming out again now with Feldman and Weinstein and other people coming forward, and now people are starting to want to talk about it. It's just disgusting that anybody would want to do something like that to a child. And do you think that something's ever going to happen? Do you think that the FBI, because we know our government can be corrupt in so many aspects, do you actually think that they will crack down on a lot of these people and start actually putting these bastards in jail, so to say?
I don't. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're working quietly under the scenes the last couple of years. When we first started our investigation, we reached out to them. Homeland Security was probably the most receptive. But what they were focusing on was more international. They were like, if you can make international connections, we can definitely help you with that. So then on the local level, you're dealing more with the district attorney's office. And in Los Angeles, what happens is a lot of the cases end up getting settled. They die in settlement because it's tough to prosecute. Even if they know the guy did it, they basically explain to the family that, like, hey, if we push this, there's a good chance he's going to get off. So they end up taking a settlement. And even when the cases go through, like in our film, Marty Weiss, he got 6 months for raping a kid for years, and just I heard just a couple weeks ago, he was back in court trying to lower his probation, and the kid had to go back in there and stand up against him. So it better happen soon, because if what we could find out with a few private investigators and some documentary filmmakers, I'm pretty sure the FBI can find out a lot more than we can. And if you really connect all the dots in our film, obviously we can't say everything that is in our film. There's a lot that's not in our film because we'd be sued. So everything in our film is unsuable. But it's just the beginning. And if you look at what is in our film and who's involved, you can start to piece together connections, okay? And these are very smart people. They've been hanging out with each other for decades. They've been working together and supporting each other, and they have a lot of money. And I don't want to say they control that city, but they also have a lot of lawyers and law firms that work for them and protect them. And Hollywood's always been this way. I just don't think it's been this bad. It's due for a sea change. And one of the ideas that I've even thought of and might be considered radical is, I think the Oscars are finished. I mean, they have enough problems with racism, not really representing what America is anymore. And now this, think of all the pedophiles. I mean, Roman Polanski, some other people that they've honored. You know, Harvey Weinstein has been the god of the Oscars for the last 20 years. It's, you know, what are we watching anymore? Who are these people? You know, how many Oscar winners have come out and said, "Ooh, I knew about Harvey, what Harvey was doing." It's like, you know what, dude, melt down that Oscar and go give your money to some children's home, okay? Because it's pathetic that you didn't stand up and do something when you could. I think we're seeing how pathetic Hollywood truly is, and what a lack of leadership there is
Well,
in that town.
it's funny because there's such a double standard. You know, when the whole what was it Hollywood Insider thing with Bush came out about Trump saying, when you're rich, women they let you grab them by the pussy, and people just melted down. You had like George Clooney, you had all these actors in Hollywood who were like, Trump's a sexist, misogynist, racist pig, blah 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 blah. And here to find out, it's just these same people were doing the same stuff, except not if not worse. And it just shows this double standard that they're right and everyone else is wrong. That they're allowed to do it because they're the star. They can do this. They're the one that makes all the money, and you see them trying to shame these other people, but they're just as complicit in doing the exact same stuff.
Yeah, and it's a lot worse. I mean, they all have alternate personalities. You know, everyone in the industry knows that. And I think America's finally catching on to these fake personalities, and we need some authentic people in the industry. There's there needs to be a lot of new blood. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these people that wants to bash Hollywood. I love Hollywood. I love films. I love books. It's what I do. It's what I've dedicated my life to. I just think it's a privilege to work in that industry. I don't even consider it a real job. You know, there's people out there doing much harder work for much less money every day. So, and when you're working on a film, you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of other people relying on you. It's like a small corporation or a venture capital operation that you're running. And you can't be unprofessional like this. And just think about it, like Harvey Weinstein's going to Cannes, and all these people are trying to sell him films and be professional, and he's just trying to rape women in his hotel room, you know? And that's the king of the industry. That's what he's doing. And I don't know too many other businesses that operate that. Like, I'm not saying other industries don't have this problem. Even the military has this problem. But Hollywood has it worse because they can use it. You know, there's the allure of Hollywood, and it just seems like sick, powerful people, mostly men, get into it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, if you're a successful, wealthy producer, you should be able to get a woman without having to
Yeah.
rape her. You know, so. And I don't even think Harvey. I think in Harvey's case, I think you clearly see how sick the guy is. Right? It's a power trip for all these people. It's an abusive system, and it's not professionally run. There's really no way to work your way. There's no like corporate structure like if you were working your way up from IBM. You know, it's basically you're an assistant, and then really your career is based off of who your boss was and how you get your next job. And I think that's part of the problem too. And I don't know if that's going to change. You know, Hollywood has it down. It's still the best place in the world for entertainment. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about this situation ruining that. I mean, we export a lot of American culture, a lot of money, a lot of American values through Hollywood. We can't lose our leadership in Hollywood. It's important, and we're doing that by letting these
Yeah, I went
scumbags
back
run
and
the
watched some of the
industry.
old footage of like I believe it was Gwyneth Paltrow on the Tonight Show, and you can see her. She's like, "Yeah, Harvey Weinstein's great. He can get you a lot of opportunities. You just have to go that extra mile with Harvey." And you could see this look on her face, like she's like almost like begging for help while she's live on TV, and everyone's just like, "Oh, that's so funny," clapping, and David Letterman sitting there clapping, and you could see this look on her face, like where she was like wanted to cry. And then you see that video of Courtney Love. She's like, "Yeah, if you ever get invited up to Harvey Weinstein's Four Seasons room, don't go." There's all these people over the years that have been hinting at this problem, but no one just took the time to stop and go, "Wow, this lady needs our help. Let's do something."
and a lot of that blame goes on the press.
Yeah.
Like I blame guys like Peter Bart. He's 80 years old now. He used to run Variety. Where was he? He was always writing great stuff about Harvey, but he never printed anything bad about him. Where was the L.A. Times? No one out in Hollywood did anything about it. It was a factory town. It's just like in the movie Chinatown, directed by a pedophile. you know. But that's the truth of the town, and I think those days have to be over. It's like when Vegas was going down and corporations saved it. Corporations need to save Hollywood right now, and maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe the Googles and the Facebooks and the Amazons are going to come in and clean it up, even though I know they have their own problems too, but not to the degree I think of what Hollywood does. And it needs to be a change of culture in this industry. Really does.
Well, thanks for the time, Matt, man. It's been a great conversation, very eye-opening, and it's truly disturbing to see the stuff that's going on. We're going to play your documentary later on this afternoon, too, an open secret, so send me that link if you can, and appreciate you for allowing us to show it. This is such an important time to get this information out there, and hopefully we can get other people to want to come forward so they can feel comfortable and feel safe to be able to expose Hollywood and a lot of these elites for what's really going on and who these people are. Thank you for your time today.
Well, thanks for having me. And also, please have people go to our Twitter because we're constantly breaking news. It's at an open secret, and we hashtag an open secret. And we have a couple of big stories that will be coming out in the next couple of days. And we also have a YouTube channel with many clips that they can go down a rabbit hole for hours if they want more information on this. And I'm sorry about my laptop dying and being on a phone that keeps shutting off on me here tonight, but I appreciate your patience.
How else can they follow you as well? What other avenues can people come to? What's your website? Things like that.
We have a big Facebook, at an open secret doc on Facebook. So once you just Google an open secret, you'll find our Facebook, our Twitter. We're on Google Plus. Our YouTube channel has 1 million clips that people can look at, and we cut up the film in different ways. And here's what I suggest: the one takeaway I want, if people watch the movie tonight, there's 3 minutes of the movie from the 48 to about 51st minute in the film. You see Bryan Singer doing the DVD commentary of X-Men with Brian Peck, who is now a convicted pedophile. Okay, and then in the background is another guy named Gary Goddard, who he points out, who has never been convicted, but has had allegations of being a pedophile brought against him. So just watch that clip. This is the biggest franchise for Fox Studios, and it's infested with at least one convicted pedophile and potentially others, and it'll be disgusting. The pedophile is literally working at a hot dog stand.
Dear Lord. Well, that's a lot to take in. It's heartbreaking to see that kind of stuff.
48 minutes to 50 minutes. For anyone that hates documentaries, just watch that 3 minutes and you'll be blown away. It speaks for itself.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on the show, man. We really appreciate it. We'll get you back on soon, hopefully, whenever some more people come forward and want to talk and get some more information and input on what they have to say as well. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, and thank you for your service as well. I appreciate
it. We'll see you later.
All right, bye.
All right, guys, this is LibertyOneTV.com. I'm Joe Biggs. This is Rogue Right, and we will be airing the documentary on here, An Open Secret, later on this afternoon. Stay tuned for more reports and the rest of the interview later on.